what do we really mean by infographic anyway? The word is simply a contraction of information graphic. So in a broad sense, an infographic is anything that uses visuals to communicate information. We're all familiar with what I would dub infographic style. You know, bold colors, big sans serif fonts, cute icons. This style has been very popular, and it risks becoming trite, I think. Furthermore, just because it is an infographic style, it is not necessarily a true infographic. In many cases, things that are called infographics are really just text with some measure of graphic design. Imagine a spectrum. On one end is what I would call information with graphics. In other words, text-based information that has been illustrated or art-directed. It may be more effective than plain text, but the graphics don't really add any meaning. On the other end of the spectrum are what I would call data visualizations. Basically, they are charts and graphs. They present information visually, but have no meaning without their legend or keys. A true infographic, to me, lies somewhere in between. In a true infographic, the graphic design communicates information in of itself. The picture, that is, really does stand in for 1,000 words. Let me give you an example. We're answering the question, how would mobile app users prefer to make routine customer service inquiries? In this, the information with graphics approach. It's attractive, but the graphic design does not really contribute any meaning. This is the data visualization approach. Unless you have the legend, you don't really know what it means. This, I believe, is a true infographic. You get the meaning without the need for words. This example suggests some other things about true infographics. It is, as we said, a visual representation of data. In it, graphics replace at least some of the words that would otherwise be required for understanding. Therefore, it is quick. It delivers meaning faster than reading and absorbing a sentence or understanding a graph. It has an element of being surprising, clever, or creative. It delivers an aha. And this is important. It is very persuasive. I'll admit that I have a bias about communication. It may be because I operate in the marketing realm, but I think the real purpose of communication is persuasion. We may be persuading people to buy or change their behavior. We may be persuading them to change their attitudes or affiliation. Or we may just be persuading them that we're nice, knowledgeable, trustworthy people. But unless we're persuading somebody of something, communication really has little purpose. And given that we're all deluged with communication all day, every day, I say, if you're not trying to persuade somebody of something, then why communicate at all? Don't press that send button. Don't upload that rant. Spare us all. Back to infographics and our definition. I believe because infographics are visual elements to increase the impact, because true infographics deliver their message quicker through a combination of visual and verbal means, they can be more persuasive and thus more valuable for our communication needs. In his introduction to the book, The Best American Infographics 2013, former talking head David Brine poses his definition. An infographic, he says, will engender and facilitate an insight by visual means. Of course, the converse can be true. If the infographic approach does not add anything, if it's really just illustrating a concept that could be presented more simply with words alone, you might want to abandon it. You might be slowing comprehension or losing value by adding in meaningless decoration and clutter. Here's some examples of infographics that I believe deserve the term. This is from Bloomberg Business and is entitled Who Works and Who Doesn't? The Labor Force by the Numbers. I think this is a true infographic because as long as you know it's about unemployment, you get a pretty good sense of the information that is being conveyed. This is a detail of an infographic called Mobile Youth. Here again, you can understand the content without relying on the numbers or the words. From NPR, this shows ad spending per voter in dollars in 2008. The purple color comes from as red Republican money mixes with blue Democratic money, greatly distorting the map of the United States. The message is unmistakable. It may interest you to know that there's nothing new about infographics. One could argue that Paleolithic cave paintings did a pretty darn good job of communicating information through visual means. Slightly more recently, we have this, a diagram of the causes of mortality authored by Florence Nightingale in the 1850s to demonstrate to Parliament how many British soldiers were dying of causes other than enemy fire during the Crimean War. Put this on the web with some big sans serif titles, and it could have easily been done yesterday. This iconic view of Napoleon's disastrous Russian campaign was drawn by Charles Joseph Menard in 1869. It manages to convey 6 types of information: the number of Napoleon's troops, the distance traveled, temperature, latitude and longitude, direction of travel, and location relative to specific dates, all in one picture. The term infographic started appearing in the 1990s, while the versions we're familiar with today really took off with blogging and social media sharing in the 2000s. That is one reason many static infographics are presented in the long and narrow form. They are made for scrolling on a computer monitor, like this example, which asks, "Is the Barbie body really possible?"